Welcome to The Works, a show dedicated to Hillsborough County's Public Works Department. In this video, I'm going to break down what Public Works is and how they play a crucial part in our everyday lives. Hillsborough County's Public Works Department plays a vital role in supporting the community's daily needs and long-term growth by building and maintaining a safe, thriving community through collaboration, dedication, and taking pride in public service. Whether it's maintaining roads and sidewalks, improving stormwater infrastructure, or delivering major projects such as construction of a new library. Our Public Works is comprised of two primary departments, Engineering and Operations and Capital Programs. Engineering and Operations focuses on the day-to-day maintenance, safety, and functionality of transportation and drainage systems, as well as mosquito management services. Capital Programs oversees the construction of long-term infrastructure projects that support mobility, resiliency, and community development. Together, these departments are responsible for planning, building, operating, and maintaining the county's critical infrastructure. Now that you have an understanding of what Public Works is, this show will break down the roles Public Works plays in Hillsborough County. So be sure to subscribe on our social media pages and be on the lookout for future episodes.
In a world where loyal companions await, one place stands as their beacon of hope. The Pet Resource Center of Hillsborough County, where you can adopt your very own superhero. Adopt a dog, find your sidekick, and unlock the power of unconditional love. Suit up, show up, and adopt today. For more information, visit hcfl.gov/pets.
Here's the second one, Sean.
Oh, little puppy.
Hold on, I got two right here. No, there's two right here, two little ones.
Obviously, when we pull up, we're asking like, hey, is that your dog? They said when they approached it, it started to growl at them. They were obviously hesitant, but they're like, it doesn't look in good condition.
We found one dog in there that was barely alive. It's literally skin and bones.
Oh my God. That is just ridiculous.
Good morning and welcome to the Environment Protection Commission meeting for June 18th, If everyone can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation given by Commissioner Cameron Cepeda.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning with grateful hearts. We thank you for who you are. And Lord, we just lift up before you this morning our precious sister Janet Lorton's brother, Jonathan Maynard Dougherty, Lord. We lift him up before you. We pray for his health. We speak and declare health, healing in his body. And we pray for the health of every person in Hillsborough County, every employee in Hillsborough County, every constituent within the borders of our county, for their health and well-being. And we pray for this nation, that your will be done throughout this nation, and we pray for peace, blessings, and prosperity, and that your will be done in our lives. And we ask you to bless this meeting in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. Have roll call. I know Commissioner Hagan is online. Okay, so we have everyone here. Do you have any changes to the agenda, Elaine?
No changes to the agenda. I would like to note that Janet did want it on the record that she's out on PTO for caring for her brother who's in critical condition.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have no recognitions or proclamations. Any public comments?
No public comment.
No public comments. Can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Commissioner Bowles, second by Commissioner Cohen. All in favor, please record your vote.
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. Elaine?
Okay, Commissioners. Item 9A is going to be presented by Dr. Valerie Harwood. And Dr. Harwood is a distinguished USF professor and the Associate Dean for Graduate Studies, where she has worked since 1998. Dr. Harwood is an environmental microbiologist whose research focuses on water quality. With the help of many graduate students over the past decades, she has become recognized for her work in the area of microbial source tracking and the ecology of E. coli and other fecal bacteria in aquatic environments. While she has been funded by many grants, she mostly enjoys partnering with local and regional agencies to address water quality issues in Florida. Professor Harwood will be giving us an overview of microbial source tracking in surface waters.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to talk about our research. I always say our because, as I mentioned, my graduate students are at the forefront of all the work that we do. We've been working with the Environmental Protection Commission since 2006, so it's a long and very fruitful partnership that I'm very grateful for. And so this is about microbial source tracking, this work that we do. And I'm going to give you a little of some background and then a case study, a recent case study that was done in Hillsborough County. Can I move this or?
Yes. Next slide.
Oh, okay, I got it. Thank you. Okay. So fecal contamination of water, feces in water, we have an automatic yuck response to that, but why does it matter in terms of our health and safety? Nutrients in feces, so sewage and animal feces, can lead to algal blooms, low dissolved oxygen, which in turn leads to fish kills, so generally degrades water quality. Feces of animals and humans contains disease-causing microorganisms called pathogens, viruses, bacteria, and protozoa. So we certainly don't want that getting in the water that we may want to recreate in or eventually drink. And reduction and prevention of contamination, so water bodies that are contaminated or impaired in the state parlance, require knowledge of source. So our scientific endeavor here is basically a whodunit activity. Why do we need this advanced technology of microbial source tracking? You've probably seen signs at the beach that say that the beach is posted or closed due to high bacterial levels. And in that case, we measure E. coli and enterococci typically. So on this little cartoon, they're denoted by the purple and the turquoise circles. The thing about E. coli and enterococci is that they're contained in the feces of all animals and in humans. And so it doesn't tell us anything about where did this contamination come from, and that in turn doesn't allow us a good chance to mitigate the pollution, to stop it, to remediate. And the city here is meant to show that many anthropogenic activities can lead to contamination of waters. You know about sewer breaks, for example. There's always lift station overflows, all sorts of activities, even stormwater runoff, and then agricultural activities also, where you have animal waste. And in the rural area, you have septic systems that can contribute. So when we design a field study like the one that I'm going to tell you about, we're taking into account all of these myriad influences of different kinds of animals, humans, as well as what's surrounding the watershed, the water body. So microbial source tracking has been going on for about 20 years, and I was lucky enough to get in on the forefront of this. We call it a forensic approach because here we're using a DNA approach, much like a DNA, the kind of DNA that you would use in a forensic investigation to track the source of fecal contamination. So in the cartoon, on the top we have a cow, in the middle a human, and we have a chicken, so indicating different fecal sources. And then over on the right, we have the water droplet. So really we're looking for what is the fecal source for contamination in the water. And you see the oval, the black ovals, those are E. coli, so they're in all of the cartoon pieces. And then let me see if I can use the cursor here, that might be helpful. No, it's not showing up. Okay, but then you see that there's a different colored circle in each of those little fecal plops. And that means that that is a particular bacteria, or it could be a virus, that is specific to that kind of animal or to humans. And that's why they're each an individual color. And so by being able to detect these, what we call host-specific bacteria or viruses in the water, we can then trace them back to the sources. So, for example, sewage, cattle, chickens, we have a bird marker, et cetera. So that's the basis for microbial source tracking. That's the whodunit part of it. And the way that we do that is we use quantitative PCR. So it's a technology that's about 10 years old, well, probably 15 years old, but got first at any rate, I won't go into that. At any rate, so you see the red ovals there in the sewage plume that's coming out of it's escaping from its pipes, and that would indicate some of the tracer, the bacterial tracer that we use. And then you see the helix there, that's a DNA helix. And then we detect that by polymerase chain reaction, or PCR, which is how this is forensically done by our law offices. But in this case, the PCR is for our microbial source tracking marker genes. And the beauty of PCR is it can take a very small amount of DNA and you amplify it. It's kind of like Xeroxing, only on a much larger scale. And then you can make millions of copies of that gene from 5 or 10. And in that way, you can amplify a very small signal into one that we can detect and quantify. So when we design a field study for microbial source tracking, and you can imagine that a lot of lab work went into developing these DNA markers that we use for microbial source tracking. But now we have quite a few that we can use with good confidence in Florida. And so when we design a field study, we think about, see the animals up there, so what kind of animals do we have around that might be contributing to the water body? And you see a little different colored circle for in each of those animal fecal contributions. And we think about, and those are just the names of some of the markers that we use. I'm going to talk a lot today about HF183 and CH8, so just kind of keep those in mind as we go along. And then again, as we're designing our study, we're looking at, well, what is around the water body in terms of infrastructure, in terms of possible contamination sources? Does it mostly look like it's, sewage, septic systems, possibly other agricultural animals? So we're taking all that into account when we design our study. Oh, there's our little rural icon. Okay. And just a quick segue, I wanted to emphasize the history of our collaboration with EPC before I go into the field study. Again, started in 2006, where we worked at Benty Davis and Bahia Beach. There we found that a broken sewage pipe and porta potties that were placed right at the edge of Benty Davis Beach seawall were contributing to fecal contamination there. In 2015, we worked in Sweetwater and Bullfrog Creeks. In 2020, we worked in Bullfrog Creek and Buckhorn Creek, and there we found that nitrate and HF-183 are correlated, and so that was a way to have more marker, a chemical marker and a microbial marker for pollution. And in 2023, we were looking at the impact of indigenous or naturalized E. coli on microbial water quality. That was in Buckhorn, Hamilton, and Turkey Creeks. And in both of those studies, we started using the H8, where we were using and validating the H8 marker that I'll talk about today. That's been really useful for us. And we have an ongoing study that is, where we're working in the Tampa Bay Bypass Canal and Rice Creek. So long and fruitful history of collaboration with the EPC. Here's the beginning of the field study part, microbial source tracking in action. So here, again, this is a whodunit. We're looking for what is causing contamination. And in this case, we're looking at English Creek. This is south of I-4 nearest to Plant City. And English Creek has an interesting relationship with the sewer line. So you see the red of the sewer line, it kind of goes horizontal and then it drops down vertical. And English Creek runs from north to south. So it runs from the top of the slide to the bottom of the slide. And on the left-hand side, in the green shading, that's an area that is serviced by septic systems. On the right-hand side, we have areas serviced, well, part of the area is serviced by the sewer. And then we have that pink shaded area that is reclaimed, where reclaimed water is used to irrigate. So the yellow arrow there, sorry, let me back that up. Maybe not, yeah. Yellow arrow denotes site EC624. This is the EPC historical monitoring site. So E. coli were high there. That is why we started working on this area. And again, we're looking at the reclaimed water here. One reason that this is important is because HF-183, remember I talked about the HF-183 sewage marker? This is just DNA. And so reclaimed water, although it is safe for many applications, it still has some DNA of the organisms that were in the sewage after it goes through treatment, because it's not designed to treat DNA. It's designed to remove E. coli, the living E. coli. And so we realized about 10 years ago that we had an issue where reclaimed water was being used, that we would detect HF-183, but it was from a harmless source, right, from the reclaimed water. So that is where we started working on that second marker there, the H8. And again, EPC funding was instrumental in helping us develop that marker. And this is a viable or a living E. coli that has a gene, which we call H8 for short, and so we detect that in viable E. coli. So if we use both together, if we only see HF-183, we're like, okay, this is some treated water source, like reclaimed water or perhaps disinfected sewage effluent. If we see H8 along with HF-183, then we know, okay, this is really a sewage source. So using those two together is a very telling thing for us. Okay, so English Creek Phase 1, I'm going to have two phases. You'll see why they're distinct in a second. So the red dots along the creek indicate where we are seeing E. coli concentrations in excess of regulatory guidelines. And then where the yellow, I just put the yellow marker around each of those sites, is where we were detecting HF-183. And notice I put that could be sewage or reclaimed water, and it's detected at most of the sites. And so we're going, okay, we're seeing stuff, but we're not quite sure what's going on. And so again, reclaimed water suspected down there, but up at EC3 in particular, so that's the northern site up closer to the sewage line at the top. EC3, we consistently detected, that star means we consistently detected H8 as well as HF183. So we're like, okay, so we have something that's happening further upstream from that historic EC624 site. So that engendered phase 2 of the project. So in phase 2, you see the gray boxes up at the top, EC 4 through 7. We actually added more than just those 4, but I'm going to only talk about those 4. We started sampling at those sites to see if we could figure out what was going on at EC3. And what we found was that we had really high HF183 levels and consistently detected H8 at EC5 and EC6, which if you can see the yellow dots there, they're just right below, they're in English Creek, right below that sewage line. But we did not detect H8 or HF183 at EC7, which is upstream of the sewage lines. So you can kind of see the whodunit aspect of this. So with our partners, reached out to Plant City Utilities, who went out. But the kudos to them. They went out and they looked around, and they found a gymongous sewer main break. So the sewer mains are that's a scientific term, by the way, gymongous, and so. Of course, they were appalled, and there was a repair done. So you can see the kind of chewed up area there where the repair was done, and that was at site EC8. So we sampled at EC8 then after both before and after the repair, and what we saw was what we expected to see. So the first 2 bars that are going to come up were the February sampling. So in February, this is before just like as the repair was being done. So we see 1 million E. coli, or almost 1 million E. coli, and we see well over 1 million, almost 10 million HF183 at that site. So this is just as the repair, before it's cleaned up. And then we saw H8, and then afterward, in March, look how much the E. coli level has dropped down to 100. And HF183, the sewer marker, as well, dropping to below 10,000. So we would call that 3 to 4 orders of magnitude, an order of magnitude being tenfold. And we're still seeing a little bit of HF183 and H8 there, probably due to the fact that we had almost no flow in that area because it's not raining then. So the bacteria that were there weren't being cleared out as fast as they might otherwise. We did go back and try to sample later, but we had no water at all, so unfortunately. So the really good example then of partnership among the organizations and research with a handshake with the utilities and found the source. So that's kind of in brief a microbial source tracking tale that's hopefully hits home at how useful it is in the partnership, how important that is. So to wrap up then, just reiterating that our funding from EPC has allowed us to find some, to discover some new knowledge about the process of water quality exploration that has implications for Florida, but also beyond, in national and international studies of water quality. And these results have been published with the nitrate and nitrite. We've published that. The ECH8 and the importance of that, I think you probably saw that when we saw H8 in the north, and we're like, okay, boom, that's our place. It's coming from the north and traveling south. So H8 has been instrumental. And then we have a current current project where we're looking at a couple of new markers for sewage contamination to keep trying to expand our repertoire. And so to wrap that all up in a bow, the collaboration has been immensely productive for our research, and I hope for Hillsborough County and the other areas. We also work with Pinellas County, and we work with City of Sarasota, and a couple of the water keepers also. So we have a lot of local, a lot of local impact, and we're always happy to answer people's questions and talk about microbial source tracking. And so thanks very much to the EPC, to Hillsborough County, and the Pollution Recovery Fund of EPC, Janet Lorton, the EPC commissioners, EPC staff who are always ready to help us out. Even when we're working for Hillsborough County, if we need to go along with them and sample, they'll take us out on the boat, they'll help us out with other projects. And then to all my graduate students and the lab team. And this is Aldo Lobo's flank here. He's working on clearing a path through some Brazilian pepper or something like that. One of my graduate students who's now a postdoc has his PhD and still working for me. And Jeanette, they helped me with this. Well, they did most of this presentation, and I basically, edited it. So thank you all, and I don't know if there's time for questions, but if there are, I would love to take some.
We want to thank you for your presentation, and I'm going to recognize Commissioner Bowles.
Thank you. Very interesting and informative presentation there. Question regarding the case that you presented. Mm-hmm. What actually precipitated the sampling out there? Was it something that came from the monitoring of the EPC site?
It actually, yes.
Or in other cases, how would you determine, like if someone thinks that there's a problem, as opposed to knowing there's a problem?
That's a great question, and I'm going to try to give a short answer, although it's a little bit complicated. But when an organization approaches us, or if we approach them, as in the case of a grant proposal, we work with the organization. So whether it's EPC or Hillsborough County, we say, where are your hot spots for fecal indicator bacteria, for E. coli and enterococci, because that's what's monitored. And where are you concerned about contaminated water? And then we go out from there and we design the study. And so in this case, it was that EPC site 624 that was consistently had high E. coli levels, and the partners were interested in exploring the bacterial levels there. And that's what we started. I don't know if you remember, but 624 was down at the bottom, right. And then we went upstream from there. And so that's kind of our typical approach, is we start at the suspect site and go upstream to see, like, okay, where does the plume start if we can find it, and where does it end?
Right. I've heard of some studies that came out of California where they were looking at romaine lettuce, mm-hmm. and they were kind of looking where these E. coli outbreaks were coming, and they kind of determined that it was farming practices near where you had cattle or other, right. livestock, and the basically where the drainage ditches were being used, mm-hmm. and kind of mixing with the irrigation ditches that were also being used for the vegetables and or whatever the produce was being made there. Yeah. So that could also be a way of certainly tracking if you had some kind of issue like that, right?
Well, yeah, and I actually didn't show all of our sites, but we went to the west. We didn't go east very much because we weren't seeing much over to the east that would impact, but we went to the west to look for, we went down some branch points. Sometimes when we'll try to talk to people when we're out, and we'll say, well, what do you see around here? Because people know they know the darndest things. And I was like, what do you see anything? You ever see any pipes that are going? And we always look for pipes going into the water. So exactly, looking for conduits that will bring it into there is exactly what we do. It's a little bit like epidemiology, and what you were talking about specifically started out as an epidemiological study. And so it's very much in its conceptual is like that.
Last question is, I'll wrap it up with, when we're doing things like this, and you mentioned the pollution fund, is that your sole source, or are you kind of aggregating revenues or some kind of funding sources that Where do those come from?
Exactly. So locally, as I mentioned, we work with Hillsborough County, Sarasota, Pinellas County, water keepers. Those are relatively modest sources of funding. Our big sources of funding, which have funded a lot of the background work on this microbial source tracking, well, it used to be the EPA. I'm hoping that the Environmental Protection Agency, the U.S. EPA, will come back to the research. USDA, National Science Foundation. So some of the big federal agencies we also send grant proposals to and get funded by.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Coyne.
Thank you. I have just two quick questions. Very interesting presentation. First of all, how effective are our water purification systems at actually removing E. coli and making sure that the water is, of pristine quality?
Well, so our major wastewater treatment plants are very, very good at that. They're excellent. The septic systems, so on-site wastewater treatment systems, are good as long as the drain field is well separated from the seasonal high water table. So you have to keep that separation. If they're too low, they don't work very well. But if they're built as permitted, and if they haven't, if the water table hasn't changed, they work quite well. The kind of little things that you might buy to take with you on a trip, where if you think you might be drinking stream water or something, those have gotten pretty good. As far as the treatment systems that you would put in at your home, those would be designed to remove certain kinds of chemicals, like perhaps nitrates or iron, and so more chemical treatment for the home treatment. You would depend on your well to be deep enough to be protected from what we call surface water influence, because that's never good.
My final question: what if a site goes undetected and untreated? What is your biggest worry in terms of the types of threats that then there are to public health? Is it through the drinking water? Is it people stepping into standing water with a cut? Is it on the food? How does it manifest itself?
I mean, that's a great question, and you also brought up many possibilities that would worry an epidemiologist or a microbiologist. So when we look at which water bodies to assess first, and we try to build sort of a risk profile, we look at the water bodies where people have the most contact with the water. So if it's a water body where, for example, we did a study up at Reedy Creek, designed to, the area was designed to be a wildlife area, lots and lots of birds in there, especially migratory birds. They were in danger of having to do a big risk assessment for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. But because nobody swims there, nobody canoes there, we were able to have an exception because it was natural sources. So if you look at, it's a bit of a long way, but if you look at how the water body is used, that will impact how much risk to human health there is.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Coyne. And again, thank you for your presentation.
Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Thank you.
Elaine?
Yes, next we have 9B, and that's going to be presented by Michelle Jenkins in our Air Division.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Michelle Jenkins, and I'm with EPC staff. And it is my pleasure to be here today to share with you the highlights and the success of our 25th Clean Air Fair anniversary celebration. As you may recall, this year's theme, Stars and Stripes Forever, Celebrating Clean Air Together, was chosen to commemorate this important milestone event while embracing the patriotic spirit surrounding the nation's upcoming 250th anniversary. Today, we would like to briefly reflect on the event's growth, its impact on our community, and the many partners who helped to make this year's celebration a success. Each May, in recognition of Clean Air Month, the EPC hosts the Clean Air Fair to promote environmental awareness, highlight the importance of clean air to the health, vitality, and well-being of our community. As what began as a modest lunchtime engagement event featuring only a handful of county departments and exhibitors has grown into one of downtown Tampa's most anticipated environmental events. Over the past 25 years, the fair has evolved into a vibrant community gathering that brings together citizens, businesses, county departments to learn about the environment and to celebrate all that the quality that is available, all the information and resources that are available to improve the quality of life in Hillsborough County. Now in its 25th year, the Clean Air Fair has become a cornerstone public outreach event and attracts more than 1,000 visitors annually. Guests enjoy a unique combination of community exhibits and interactive activities, including live music provided by EPC alumnus Ron Nichols and his band, The Leftovers, generous exhibitor giveaways, and opportunities to directly connect with organizations serving our citizens. Of course, the fair's success would not be made possible without the support of our dedicated EPC divisions, our participating partners, and especially you, commissioners. This year's event reached an all-time high, featuring more than 70 exhibitors, our biggest and most exciting turnout yet. We are incredibly grateful for the tremendous support of our sponsors, including One Tampa City Center, Tampa Downtown Hilton, Sprouts Farmers Market, Publix, and many more. It is through their remarkable generosity and dedication that the Clean Air Fair continues to grow and thrive. Each year, the EPC selects a theme for the fair that encourages residents to consider the positive impacts we can make when we work together to protect our natural resources and preserve a healthy environment. To this end, we are always very proud to showcase the outstanding work of our valued partners, whose commitment and collaboration help strengthen our community's well-being and environmental future. Over the years, the Clean Air Fair has received several recognitions for excellence in public outreach. Most recently, the event received a Hillsborough County Planning and Design Award of Merit. One of the fair's most anticipated traditions is the annual Arbor Day tree giveaway. This year, more than 350 tree saplings and plants were distributed to attendees. In fact, visitors begin lining up well before the giveaway opens, making it one of the event's most popular and eagerly awaited attractions. We would like to thank Pine Lake Nursery, Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful, and Florida Forest Service for their generous support and contributions that helped make this year's giveaway possible. The Clean Air Fair also serves as the venue for recognizing the winners of the EPC's Environmental Photography Contest. Winning entries are prominently displayed during the event, allowing attendees to appreciate the creativity and environmental awareness demonstrated by local students. The 2026 contest this year received over 70 entries from local high school students. Students were encouraged to focus their photos on environmental stewardship, natural resource protection, and this year's patriotic theme. The quality of the submissions was truly outstanding, making the judging process especially challenging. We are proud to recognize the students who were selected for top honors. And as you can see, our first place winner, Sunrise, truly captured the spirit of our theme. This year's judging resulted in a tie for second place, reflecting the exceptional talent displayed by our student participants. The judges also awarded 2 third-place winners, further demonstrating the level of talent by our local photography contestants. In addition to our top winners, 5 students received honorable mention recognition. We congratulate all of the students and thank them for sharing their creativity and environmental perspective with our community. We would also like to express our sincere appreciation to HTV for their continued support and news coverage of the fair every year. Please enjoy this short video highlighting some memorable moments from the fair.
We're at the Poe Plaza today for the Clean Air Fair, and we're here to educate people on the importance of the environment and what we do at the agency. We have 67 vendors, all doing sustainability efforts and things like that to teach people the importance of our environment and our natural resources.
This is our 25th year celebrating Clean Air Fair, and it also happily coincides with the celebration of our 250th birth of our nation. You know, it pairs patriotism with the conservation and protection of our environment. That's one thing we want them to learn. That's about our environment and the resources that are available and how they can connect with the county departments, in particular EPC, to learn more about why clean air is so important to our community. It makes me feel fantastic to see everyone out here today and coming to just add another educational piece to their life about environmental and why the environment is so important to us.
We have nearly 70 exhibitors. It's a cross-section of the community, from civic groups to restaurants and shopping centers to utilities. I could thank many people, certainly one Tampa City Center and the Hilton, because they provide the venue. Also just some of our mainstays like Publix. Sprouts was a big contributor this year.
This is an event that takes place every year. I don't think I've ever seen it as crowded as it is this year. People recognize the importance of clean air as an issue.
It's a great event, the Clean Air Fair, 25th year that they've been doing this. There's tons of environmental resources. What's been incredible to learn is just how many different organizations we have. And it's just a really cool aspect to be able to say, hey, I went to this event to celebrate clean air and came away with a free plant.
Well, it's really exciting for me because I've been here all 25 years, and this started as a grassroots, just small crowd of people that we've blossomed into this large event. So it's really exciting to see how it's grown, and the mission is to educate. Some of the things that we've grown with, we found live music. It was a really, really popular addition. This current one's been playing here for the last 10 years. We also started having a photo contest for local high schools, and we take the winners and exhibit them here so we get a chance for the public to observe them.
It's so amazing being out here today. I mean, it fills my heart with joy and pride that people really care about the environment. Everybody's celebrating not only the USA, not only EPC, but our environment, and I just think it's wonderful.
As we celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Clean Air Fair, we are proud of how far the event has come and the positive impact it continues to have on our community. For a quarter century, the fair has provided an opportunity to educate, engage, and inspire residents while strengthening partnerships that support environmental stewardship throughout Hillsborough County. We are grateful for your continued support, Commissioners, of the EPC and the Clean Air Fair. Your commitment has helped to make this event a lasting success, and we look forward to building on that success for many years to come. Thank you for your time. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. What was an awesome event. So I'm pretty sure we'll figure out next year how we get on Good Morning America on one of the TVs. But it was just phenomenal just to see the number of citizens that supported this event this year. I mean, you all went all out in celebration of the 250th anniversary that will be coming up for America. Okay, I don't see anyone in the queue, so thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, Elaine?
Okay. Commissioners, next we have our Brownfields annual report that will be given by Allison Amran in our Waste Division. We'll also have a small recognition after this as Allison is retiring, and we will be missing her and enjoyed these last 10 years as she's been our Brownfields coordinator.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. As they said, my name is Allison Amram, and I've been the Brownfield coordinator for EPC for the last 10 years. And today I want to kind of show you the community benefits of the Brownfield program here in Hillsborough County. I want to talk a little bit about your role as the BOCC in establishing brownfields And I also want to show you a little bit about what's happened in the past year. So this photo shows 2 redevelopment parcels within the Independence Park brownfield site. They were an abandoned, vacant golf course, and now they are being redeveloped for private housing. And I also, usually when I talk with you all about brownfields, I talk about the specifics of the plan. And this time I want to start off with the results. So this is a mixed commercial development south of the airport that was redeveloped over an old landfill through the Brownfields program. These are all cleanup sites. This is the Madison Street Park in downtown that was redeveloped over a vacant lot that had impacts from an adjacent rail line. A large warehouse in East Hillsborough County that was constructed over formerly mined lands. This is an industrial facility that used to be an aluminum smelter, and now the building has been upgraded and repurposed to be a trash transfer station. A commercial redevelopment along Dale Mabry that was formerly a nursery, and apartments over another former landfill in the West Shore area. So what is the Brownfield program? It is a program started by EPA that provides incentives for voluntary environmental cleanup of a property when there's a redevelopment plan. So there are 2 requirements to become a Brownfield program site. There has to be contamination or the perception of contamination. The program started with EPA. There's some contamination involved. And also the current property owner didn't cause or contribute to the contamination. And that's where you get the incentives. So there are no incentives if you make the contamination yourself. But if you want to come in and clean up somebody else's impacts, then there's some incentives that will help you get over that hurdle of, do I really want to redevelop this property for my, for a better purpose for the community? Do I have enough time and money, and what will that be to address the contamination? The photo at the right is some of the contamination that was found in the repair bays at the Tampa Armature Works. It used to be the city streetcar repair. So there are 2 paths in the Brownfield program. There's a redevelopment approval, and there's also the environmental cleanup process path. So a Brownfield project starts with the redevelopment approval, and a plan is submitted to the local government agency to review and say, is this a redevelopment plan that will match with what the city or the county have in mind for this area? And then they'll look to see what are going to be the community benefits, the Brownfield component of the redevelopment. Will it spur economic development? And that's demonstrated by creating at least 5 jobs. Will it preserve land for recreation or conservation, or will it create affordable housing? If it meets those criteria, the application is then presented to you all as the BOCC, and then there's a public meeting near the project to get community input. And finally, there's another public hearing at a BOCC meeting where the local government agency will make a recommendation to the board to either create a brownfield area or not. But once that brownfield area resolution has been made, then there's some incentives that are available for redevelopment of that property. If affordable housing is being created, there is a sales tax refund on all the building materials used to construct the affordable housing. So that's begun to play an important part in creating affordable housing in the county. The photo on the right is the Uptown Sky affordable housing that was created using this incentive. Also, I want to let you know that any property within a community redevelopment area, a CRA, has sort of gone through the same process as becoming a brownfield area, and they also are available for the same brownfield area incentives. Plant City took a different sort of a city planning approach to establishing large areas of large brownfield areas, and this was done to sort of prepackage large areas for redevelopment in case there was contamination, to incentivize redevelopment. Bless you. And there was one private redevelopment area that was established, and that was for the Plant City Hospital. And you may recall that was the one that was redeveloped over an agricultural area that had a chicken farm that had some arsenic impacts. And it's now functioning as a Plant City Hospital. It's all cleaned up. So that's the redevelopment path. The environmental path starts when that brownfield area resolution is complete. At that point, if contamination has been documented, then the person who didn't cause or contribute to that contamination can sign a voluntary cleanup agreement with EPC. And that agreement says that the property owner will go through Florida's cleanup rule to assess the contamination at the site, what's there, is it in the soil or groundwater, where's it going, remediate it and clean it up and control it so that it's clean. And that's the majority of what EPC does. We take these sites, we make sure that they're cleaned up through Florida's rules. We also support other brownfield activities in the county. The CDC of Tampa has a brownfield environmental job training grant that they've had since 2019. And there's a picture up here of their last job training cohort. They have almost an 80% environmental job placement rate in this program. It's really phenomenal. And EPC also spends some time presenting to professional meetings about the Brownfields program and also doing community outreach. This map shows in red the EPC brownfield sites. We have 56 cleanup sites. That totals about 900 acres. And you'll see that the cleanup sites are concentrated in industrial areas. And as Tampa grows, some of the industrial areas are turning into more business areas or mixed-use redevelopments. So there are a lot of brownfield sites located in the east side of downtown Tampa, Ybor City, the Port, Orient Park. These are all Florida Department of Environmental Protection brownfield incentives for going through the cleanup. Every incentive is tied to an activity that the property owner who didn't cause the contamination has to go through to clean up the site. So as soon as that voluntary cleanup agreement is signed, the property owner receives liability protection for any claims about the contamination. So this has been a very strong incentive, very desired for cleaning up property, especially if you're going to have a residential redevelopment or a park setting, something like that. There are also cleanup tax credits. And these are tax credits on the Florida corporate income tax. They don't come from a fund of general legislature or anything like that. And as you can see, they're all tied into a different aspect of the cleanup or redevelopment that's based on the cleanup. And then at the end of the cleanup process, EPC issues a site rehabilitation completion order, which is the end goal for contaminated sites. It says your contamination is gone or it's controlled, and you have controls in place so that no one will be exposed to the contamination and they won't contribute to more environmental impacts. The photo at the right is a picture of a groundwater treatment system that was used at the Plant City Hospital to remove arsenic from the groundwater. EPC just submitted last month our report to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection about our delegated brownfield program. EPC manages the brownfield program in Hillsborough County under a delegation agreement with the Florida DEP. And so we tell them every year what we've done. This year we've received 5 new projects into the program. The iOS Hemlock project is a redevelopment at the port on an industrial site. There, the photo on the right, the kind of light background, they're creating outdoor industrial storage for the port. The East Hillsborough and Shadow Lawn brownfield site is going to be cleaned up to become a new fire station and fleet maintenance for the city of Tampa. Cypress Housing and Las Villas are going to be cleanup sites for affordable housing. And the Channelside Drive Park is a new park coming next to the Channelside Garage. EPC has also closed 3 sites this year. They've reached that site rehabilitation completion order. The Rome Yard is a 12-acre multi-use redevelopment on the west side of the Hillsborough River. They had impacts into their soil that they excavated and removed from the site. And this large redevelopment area will also have the West River Walk going through the development. We also closed 2 other sites. The Pitch Pine site was a wood treatment facility that used the copper chromated arsenic, and that was some contamination that needed to be cleaned up, but it's still in redevelopment. And the Tampa Livestock Parcel C had agricultural impacts from a fish farm. I know you're familiar with Gasworks. This is a very large multi-use redevelopment that is going on right now between downtown Tampa and Ybor City. EPC has a 3-city block area brownfield site, and that was created for impacts from an old landfill. Whenever there's redevelopment over an old landfill, EPC offers a director's authorization to look at those special requirements of redeveloping an area that had solid waste buried in it before. So this site is both a brownfield site and an old landfill redevelopment. You can see a little progression in the construction over the last 2 years. They found an abandoned tank. Whenever there's a large excavation, there always seems to be a large surprise. And the redevelopment, this is a picture, a rendering of what they envisioned the project will look like. And they also have a recreation green space component to their redevelopment and are proposing a pedestrian walkway that would ideally connect the city of downtown Tampa to Ybor City. So these are some of the projects that we've had. The ones that have redeveloped this year, I just want to show you the difference in their property value from the time that they signed their voluntary cleanup agreement with EPC until they completed redevelopment this year. So that first picture we saw today with the apartments from the golf course that was redeveloped, the construction and finishing of those apartments increased the property value of that parcel by almost $68 million. The J.H. Williams property downtown was a fuel distribution center, and they constructed large apartments, and the property value here has increased more than $70 million. And our last one, Coke, Florida, bought about 158 acres off of 301 and the Causeway Boulevard, and they created their distribution center for Coke, Florida, and the property value here increased almost $99 million. So you can look at economic development with the jobs, or you can also look at it with the property values. But there's more than just brownfield sites for economic gain. There's the affordable housing component. And these 5 properties are spread through the county. We actually have 7 that have used the brownfields area incentives to redevelop for affordable housing. And we have 3 cleanup sites for affordable housing that have come to EPC in the last 2 years. So that's getting used more and more. And then there's the community impact that just one good redevelopment project begets another. So this is a map of the Hillsborough River just north of downtown, and the blue area is the Rome Yard redevelopment that's going on now, and the green redevelopments are the Waterworks Park and Tampa Armature. In about 2013, Waterworks Park was redeveloping, and it took this industrial area of the river, and it cleaned it up, and it opened it up to the public. And this redevelopment is a place you want to bring your family and meet your friends and meet new neighbors, and it's a great community dwelling place. Just north of this is the Tampa Armature Works, and that was abandoned industrial, had a lot of contamination, and it sat there for years. And once Waterworks Park redeveloped, Armature Works was close behind. And so this synergy, where one project serves as a catalyst for the next, is like the ultimate goal for brownfields. I really love the brownfields program because it kind of recycles your land. You clean it up, you reuse it for a better purpose for the community today. And that is what I have for you all today. I love the brownfields program, always happy to talk about it, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for an excellent presentation. We know that with brownfield, how with the contamination, you're always cleaning up sites to build on those sites. So thank you so much. I'm going to recognize now Commissioner Bowles.
Thank you. Yeah, again, very useful and informative presentation. A couple questions. You mentioned that Plant City did some, I can't recall exactly how you worded it, but kind of like some large-scale changes for designation of brownfields. Did they do that on their own? Did they have to coordinate with DEP or FDEP?
Those large areas are, the brownfield area designation process is done by the local municipality. So the Plant City commissioners did that redevelop, set those up as redevelopment areas for brownfields incentives.
Okay, and you just mentioned in the very end of your presentation, Independence Park.
Yes.
And that was a golf course. And
Yes.
someone wouldn't really think of golf courses necessarily being a brownfield or not, but given that there's lots of fertilizers, lots of pesticides that are used.
That's what it
and
is.
even though that they're probably, there's probably some state law that allows that to happen. Are those typically or not typically designated brownfields, and who has the authority to do that?
That's a lot. A golf course their business is keeping the grass green. So they are allowed to legally apply pesticides, fertilizers, herbicides, whatever they need to do to keep the grass in playing condition, as long as it's in accordance with the manufacturer's directions. It can be a heavy load. There are no cleanups required of golf courses unless they change land use. And then if they have contamination, then they will generally go through a cleanup that's managed by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, or if they want to become a brownfield site and they have a redevelopment plan that the local commission approves, if they become a brownfield site, then they do voluntary cleanup instead of cleanup that could be mandated by consent order.
So if there are abandoned sites and golf courses, and I say abandoned, not like no one's looking after them, but they're not being utilized for a golf course anymore. And I think there's a few in South County, some in North County, that they're possibly being considered for that. Is that something that a developer could come in, or the new owner, presumably a developer, could come in and ask for?
Yes, yes, and they do. But their redevelopment plan has to meet those brownfield criteria, create 5 new jobs, preserve the land for recreation or conservation, or create affordable housing.
Okay.
So the incentives are, you didn't cause the contamination and you're going to create this community benefit. So if they don't meet that criteria for the brownfield area designation in the redevelopment project, then it's not going to be a brownfield site.
And the funds that are used to help clean up these sites, where does that come? Is that federal, state, local?
There are no funds provided. They all come as tax
Incentives?
credits. The sales tax is a refund, so they provide the State Department of Revenue with their receipts for affordable housing, and they get a refund back on the sales tax. So the state decides to forego that tax. And the same thing happens with the voluntary cleanup tax credits. Those are tax credits that the property owner shows their receipts to DEP that we have paid this much for our site rehabilitation, our cleanup activities, and then they have certain maximum limits, and that comes off of their corporate income tax bill. It's issued as a tax credit certificate. So if they don't pay corporate income tax, then that tax credit certificate can be sold on a secondary financial market for 88.90 cents on the dollar.
So it's typical, but it is not like typically it has nothing to do with like an ad valorem or some kind of development incentive along those lines.
I don't understand quite what you mean.
They wouldn't have to pay their property taxes, wouldn't be less, and it's strictly kind of related to the sales tax and along those.
The credits are on a sales tax refund for affordable housing and corporate income tax.
Okay.
Yeah, not on property tax.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda.
Yes, I'd like to thank you for your many years of service and caring for our community. And I really hope you have a really great retirement, a long and healthy life full of happiness, peace, and joy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. Actually, all 3 presentations this morning have been wonderful and informative, and thank you for the work that you're doing. It's such a privilege to be able to sort of have a front row seat to the good work that you're doing in our county. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Elaine, I know you say you want to address her retirement.
Yes, I have Stephanie Wickham, our waste director, who has a few words for Allison.
Commissioner Myers, may I just pinch in just for a second?
Sure. Hold on 1 second. Sir.
By the way, I didn't mean to grill you on your last day on the job. I just want to get all the expert knowledge that you have, and kind of get as much as we can. But thank you very much. I wasn't trying to attack you or anything like that. I truly appreciate your service to the community.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. I've had the pleasure of working with Allison for her 10 years at the EPC, and I would just like to take a few moments of your time to recognize Allison for her dedicated service to the agency for the past 10 years and her upcoming retirement in July. Since joining EPC as the Brownfields Coordinator in 2016, Allison has brought strong environmental expertise, technical knowledge, and a deep commitment to community-focused remediation. She has built trusted relationships with partners and consultants across Florida and is widely respected as a leader in the Brownfields community. In fact, some of those partners are here in the audience today. They came in to recognize her. Beyond her technical contributions, Allison has also served EPC through her work with Tampa Bay Water and the MacDill Air Force Base Restoration Advisory Board, while mentoring staff and helping strengthen technical expertise across the agency. Allison's dedication, leadership, and service have made a lasting impact on EPC and the citizens of Hillsborough County. At this time, I'm honored to present Allison with her 10-year service recognition and to thank her for her outstanding work. On behalf of the agency and staff, we wish her all the happiness in her well-deserved retirement. And Allison, would you like to say a few words? Maybe about your pictures. This kind of.
Thank you, Stephanie. So for our 10-year rewards or recognitions, we're allowed to pick pictures. So I picked Tampa Armature Works, and it shows the deserted Armature Works and then the redeveloped one. So it means a lot to me. And I'm also really, really thankful that when I announced my retirement, that we were able to internally recruit. And Charles Dowman is here today, and he's going to be EPC's next Brownfield Coordinator. And we've had the last 6 weeks to train together, and I look forward to seeing the Brownfield program thrive and move forward and all, and it's been an honor. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Allison. Hold on before you leave. As one chapter closes in EPC, you have your future endeavor, what you so desire, so enjoy life. And thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And welcome aboard.
We'd like to get a picture with Allison and Frank. I see Frank and his son Travis and her husband Paco in the audience, if everyone could come up.
Okay, Lane, we have the Executive Director's report.
Yes, if HTV
Again,
could.
good morning.
Good morning. Could pull up the report. Okay. Thank you. Okay, Commissioners, I'll be presenting Janet's Executive Director report. We could go to the next slide. Okay, along with the changes with Allison and Charles that we just saw, we have some changes in our waste division. Ron Cope retired from the EPC after 35 years of service. Nicole Garcia, who's in the audience with us today, has been promoted to the department's senior environmental manager. Nicole brings over 25 years of experience across several roles within EPC's waste division. Next. Next. EPC staff attended Commissioner Meyer's town hall meetings on May 19th in Progress Village and June 16th in Riverview. Next. We also attended Commissioner Woostel's town hall at the Riverview Public Library. Next. The Arbor Day ceremony took place at E. L. Bing Elementary School. We thank EPC Chair Commissioner Gwen Myers and the school who selected a southern magnolia pine. We would like to thank the Florida Forestry Service for the grant that made this tree planting ceremony possible. Next. In the community, we participated in several Earth Month events, including the 6th annual Great Port Cleanup and Earth Day at the Tampa International Airport. Next. Staff participated in outreach events focusing on environment and education. These included EcoFest at Learning Gate Community School and the Geo Expo at the University of South Florida. Next slide. In May, Janet served as a moderator at the 44th Annual Agritech Seminar and Expo held at the Florida Strawberry Festival Fairgrounds. This annual event is a great opportunity for the agricultural community to connect directly with EPC staff. Next slide. On May 7th, our Brownfield coordinator, Allison Amram, spoke at the Tampa Vocational Institute's Environmental Job Training graduation. The program is funded by a U.S. EPA grant for which EPC serves on the advisory board. In June 4th, EPC staff joined the Tampa Bay Estuary Program's celebration commemorating 100 environmental projects through the Tampa Bay Environmental Restoration Fund. Next. EPC's 10th annual guided wetlands walks were held at Lettuce Lake Park and the Upper Tampa Bay Park. Our guests included members from the local Florida Native Plant Society chapter, university students, scientists from other regulatory agencies, and local residents. Next. On June 10th, we welcomed high school students for a tour of our facility and presentations about EPC's core functions. This visit was part of the Future Leaders in Planning program, organized by the Planning Commission to introduce local students to explore urban planning as a potential career path. This year marked the 10th anniversary of the FLIP program and the 5th time EPC had participated. Next. And Commissioners, we already have a date set next year of May 6th for the 26th Annual Clean Air Fair. Next. And finally, our next EPC meeting will be held on August 27th. This concludes the report. Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you for the information. Okay, do we have any future items, anyone? Let's see. Oh, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. No, I probably didn't drop you off from the last. Any future items? Hearing none. Our meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone.